Good morning, everybody. My name is Ashley Demosthenes. I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the president and CEO of Low Country Land Trust here in Charleston. It is my unbelievable honor, on behalf of the Land Trust Board of Trustees and all of our partners, to welcome you here today to join us in this celebration in this special place surrounded by this magnificent landscape. We are thankful that you can be here with us today to honor the generosity of Willie McRae and his family in the permanent protection of Boone Hall. I am proud to say that as of Tuesday, November 5th, Boone Hall is protected in perpetuity, a permanent conservation easement. A permanent conservation easement is now part of Boone Hall and the McRae family's legacy. In addition to the McRae family, we're tremendously grateful for the leaders of Charleston County, the town of Mount Pleasant, and the state of South Carolina, several of whom are here today and who will be speaking in a few moments. They made this project a reality. Thank you guys so much. They're sitting up here. Round of applause. We'll be hearing about their specific contributions in just a few moments. So today's a big day. In many ways, today's announcement has been centuries in the making. For this has always been a working landscape, beginning with Native Americans, continuing through the early explorers and colonists, Africans who shaped the landscape in extraordinary ways, farmers, sportsmen, and in recent years, hundreds of thousands of tourists. Over hundreds of years, the land's story has changed with the needs of the day, but people remained at the heart of the story. And today we are here to celebrate not only the land, but the people who brought us to this place. The group of speakers and partners here today shows the incredible possibilities for collaboration. The South Carolina Conservation Bank, Charleston County Greenbelt Program, and the elected leaders who have the vision to create those public funding opportunities and continue to support them. Our media partners, thank you for being here today, who help us carry the story of the land and its people, inspiring new collaboration. But most importantly, we all recognize that without a landowner with a generous vision, we wouldn't be here at all. Willie, our deepest debt of gratitude goes to you and your family. When placing Boone Hall, I know. When placing Boone Hall under a conservation easement, the McRae's vision for this property to continue to be a working landscape in an intensely urban environment was critical. Willie and his family thoughtfully charted how they'd like to see the property remain, not just in the next few years, but forever. You'll learn later of the other funding that helped make the easement a reality, but in the end, the McRae's family contribution was extraordinary. He's such a hero. Willie, would you like to come up and say a few words? Oh no, you're first. Come on.
I'm third generation fruit grower, and our affair didn't start with Boone Hall in 1955. It started in the late 30s and early 40s with my father and grandfather coming and buying produce off the Eagle Lake and shipping it to town, transferring it to the train and sending it to New York, Philadelphia, and Mount Marcus. So we've been here quite a while. The people is what made Boone Hall. We were welcomed graciously when we came to the Low Country in the 1930s and 40s. My parents was handling the crop for Gray Buck Farms, which is now the Ports Authority. And one Sunday afternoon, they had been here down to a family function for the Bucks. And I think about the only Buck that's local now was Eddie Buck, that you might remember. But his first job was babysitting for me. that's what you did on Sunday afternoon. There was no place to go, down here. And out of the blue, they drove by the front gate of Boone Hall. And my mother said, Lord Verena, which was Miss Buck then, what is that place down there in Boone Hall? And she said, well, Harris, drive down there and we'll look at it. Nancy needs to see it. So they came driving in, looking, and the place was not what it is now, but it wasn't too bad a shape. And looked, and the gardens were blooming. It happened to be spring. What they had was blooming. It was very nice. And they were leaving, and Miss Buddy said, well, Nancy, you hadn't said much. And she said, that is because that's the most beautiful place I've ever seen in the world. Well, we were also in the timber business in North Carolina. And later, about 2 months later, my dad was down here after the crops were finished, buying timber. And he bought a lot of timber for the Carters and different ones. And he had his plant manager with him. And he said, let's ride down there. And so they rode down here, and he said, golly, Harris, there's enough timber here that might pay for the place one day. 10 years to come on, you buy the place. So, about 2 days later, Daddy called my mother and said, Nancy, you really like that place? She says, oh, yes. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen in the world. He said, well, Nancy, I bought it for you. We have deep roots here, and I've got people I need to thank, but I won't thank one person that never in this world thought I would thank them. And at the time, I never in this world thought I would thank them. And that was one. There used to be an article, or I don't know what you would call it, in the News and Courier or the Post at the time, and it was the best and the worst of Charleston. And I'd just taken over the plantation in 78, and it came out in 79. And it listed all the tourist attractions and a lot of the restaurants, and there's only a few compared to now. And it said that Boone Hall won their award for being the worst attraction in Charleston. Well, since then, we've been the best. We've been the most, in with the White House, we've been at Christmas one of the most historical, decorated places in the world, and certain things like that. So, I'm sure the gentleman never thought I would thank you, but that's what made me go to work, really. I couldn't have my mother having one of the worst attractions. So that kept on. So, Boone Hall's always been a magical, mystical place for me ever since I was a child. And I was raised like a lot of these children. I had to go out on the farm and work and cut grass and mess with cows and everything that we had back then. And it meant a lot to me back then. It was magical and mystical. And now, with this conservation easement, I hope it'll be that way right on for many a future generation here at the plantation. Thank you so much.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Senator Chip Campson, who has been a tireless advocate of South Carolina's natural resources. He really needs no introduction. He was the original author of the Conservation Bank legislation and campaigned ardently for its renewal just recently. He's an advocate for our coast and a dear friend of the conservation community. Senator Campson.
Thank you, and Mr. McCray, thank you for this gift. You may have had the worst rating for a tourist attraction at one point in time, but this is the greatest gift ever made to future generations in Charleston County, and we appreciate it. When I was in junior high school, Mount Pleasant had 7,000 people. Boone Hall was literally in the boonies. Now, today, Mount Pleasant has 90,000, and Boone Hall is enveloped by development. It's in the center of Mount Pleasant today. Because of that population migration that I saw, and all of us saw, at the turn of the century, I authored the Conservation Bank Act to protect some of the beautiful low country, and not just low country, but landscape around the state. And the Conservation Bank has been very effective in doing that. It's protected over 300,000 acres at approximately $500 per acre. And it's and Raleigh West, the new director you're going to hear from shortly, is doing a great job at the helm of the Conservation Bank. It has protected iconic places in Charleston County, like Morris Island, Angel Oak, and certainly Boone Hall is added as one of those iconic places that is now protected by the Conservation Bank and the Charleston County Greenbelt Bank, which I know that Chairman Summey has played a big role in making this easement happen. I really thank him for his effort. And the Charleston County Greenbelt Bank is modeled after the Conservation Bank. It has very similar language, a very similar system. And the way both of these entities accomplish conservation is, I like to say, by negotiation and compensation, not by regulation. You negotiate with a property owner, negotiate the terms of an easement, you seek funding on a competitive grant basis. If you have a good proposal, you're going to get funded. And that's how we've been able to protect over 300,000 acres at approximately $500 an acre. Usually you ought to give one quote, I'll give two though. My first quote is one I've been using frequently, but John Sawhill, who was the president of the Nature Conservancy and president of NYU, he said this. He said that a society defines itself not only by what it creates, but also by what it refuses to destroy. And the conservation movement is about protecting places that we have decided we refuse to destroy. And in protecting Boone Hall, what are we refusing to destroy? We're refusing to destroy a very rich and vibrant history. We're refusing to destroy a culture. We're preserving a culture. We are refusing to destroy things that can help the public understand both the good in our history and the bad, including with the slave houses that we see on our right as we came into the Oyster Dock. But really, probably most importantly, we're preserving all those things for future generations, because we have an obligation to transmit to subsequent generations everything that has been handed down to us, both our cultural resources, our historic resources, and our natural resources. And then I'm going to finish, Mr. McCray, with something directed to you. And I'm going to premise this by saying, William Wilberforce is one of my heroes in history. He almost single-handedly eradicated the slave trade in Great Britain. A 20-year battle, member of Parliament. He died in 1833. And when he died, the Prime Minister of Great Britain said this about William Wilberforce because of his effort to eradicate the slave trade. He said, "Millions yet unborn will bless the mention of his name." Now, I'm not equating eradicating the slave trade with this gift. This is a great gift, but it's not quite on that level. But still, I think the same principle applies, Willie, that millions of people, yet unborn, will be blessed at the mention of your name because you are the individual who made this gift to those subsequent generations. And we thank you greatly for that.
Thank you, Senator Hansen. Next up is Senator Larry Grooms. Senator Grooms is a fierce advocate for bringing jobs and the necessary infrastructure to support them to our state. He believes deeply in the power of a sense of place and protecting these places for our children and grandchildren. Senator Grooms, we thank you for your leadership and welcome you to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you for this gift. When you meet a stranger for the first time, one of the first things that are spoken is, where are you from? You know, where are you from? And that one question tells you a lot more than just a geographical point on a map. It speaks a little bit about who you are, your sense of place, your sense of belonging. Your individual identity is tied to your home, to where you're from. That's why we ask that question. And we ask that question in the South more so than the folks, let's say, in an industrialized area in New Jersey. Because their home, their sense of place, basically plowed over, and other things have been built there. Their sense of history of what occurred there. Their special places no longer exist. Boone Hall is one of our special places. It helps define our home. It helps define who we are. The trees, the waterfront, the history. This tract of land, 1.5 miles along the creek, over 600 acres. It's larger than Snee Farm. It's a little bit larger than the Brickyard. And I imagine over the years, you probably have some developers ride down the beautiful tree-lined Oak Road, looking at wonder, going, man, this would be a great place for the clubhouse. I can just see where we can go ahead and put the pool over here. Man, we can put the apartments, the condos here, the duplexes here. They got it all plotted out. My kids, they're in their 20s right now, and part of their sense of place has been to visit these spots that make our home special. And this is one. They've seen a couple of Civil War reenactment battles up here. They've eaten oysters, picked strawberries, took their first hayride. That's my children. We're lucky to grow up in such a special place. And with this gift, what's occurred here this week through the work of a lot of people, mostly through the generosity of Willie, that my grandchildren yet to be born, my great-grandchildren will be able to watch a battle, pick some strawberries, take a hayride, be able to enjoy a sense of place, visit, look out upon the creek. It's about who we are. It's about our home. It's about protecting our special places. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be part of this, to be part of something that will have lasting implications for generation after generation, which will also help define who we are, because this is a special place. This is our home, and it will be protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Grooms. Okay, the South Carolina Conservation Bank you've heard a lot about already, but I'm going to give you a little bit more background and introduce you to a very important person. The South Carolina Conservation Bank was founded to help land trusts and others secure the permanent protection of special places that Senator Grooms was just talking about, and Senator Hansen. It is a critical funding tool that is measurably defining the landscapes of South Carolina. I'd like to give special recognition to somebody who has shown extraordinary leadership in this room, He's not on our panel to speak today, but that would be the chairman of the board of the South Carolina Conservation Bank, Michael McShane. He has volunteered countless hours to achieve the result that we are celebrating today. So Mike, wherever you are, I know you're in the room somewhere, thank you so much. Speaking on behalf of the Conservation Bank today is Raleigh West, the bank's executive director. Raleigh?
What a blessing it's been, though. I've had the opportunity to travel through all parts of the state, and I'm continually astounded by the beauty of South Carolina's landscapes. I don't know where else you can go and be in the mountains in the morning and on the coast right here, 4 hours later, pass over farms and Blackwater rivers, and it's just a tremendously beautiful state. And it's also one that's rich in history. And I was thinking about that. At the heart of the conservation mission, I think, and for the Conservation Bank too, is this notion that those landscapes and the history and the quality of life that they afford ought to survive as we move into the future and flourish economically and in terms of population growth. I think certainly that Boone Hall, in terms of historic landscapes, it falls squarely within that mission. I don't know if there's a property that's more iconic than this one. Senator Kent said projected 300,000 acres, but these 600 are certainly as important as any property we've ever supported. Beyond the property itself, what makes this deal special is the partnerships. Chairman Summey, the Charleston Greenbelt program put in substantial funding, but mostly it's the landowner. All of our projects are voluntary. And I don't want to say specific numbers, but this was one of the largest financial contributions of value to the District of South Carolina. And I know we all owe a deep debt of gratitude to Chris. I was speaking with one of our board members, Mr. Charles, I think, the other day, and I was asking what it means to be a conservationist. And he said, we all have a conservation bone in our bodies, just a lot of us don't realize it until property that we thought would always be there, that defines our sense of place, is threatened. And thankfully, we don't have to worry about that with Boone Hall to the state. And to all the partners, I'm very thankful.
So as you know, Charleston County is blessed with residents who embrace the outdoors and tourists who seek out respite. Tidal creeks and salt marshes, working farm and forest land in close proximity to a bustling urban center. It's pretty unique, it's very special. It's a combination found rarely, not just on the East Coast, but nearly anywhere in the world. The Charleston County Greenbelt program was established with tremendous support from the public to help us keep that critical sense of place. Council Chairman Elliott Summey supported our efforts to secure funding for the protection of Boone Hall and continued his support throughout the long process that brought us here today. Mr. Chairman, your role was critical, and we are deeply grateful for your leadership. Please come up and share your thoughts.
Forgive me, actually, I'm the only one that didn't have to move this microphone. First of all, let me say, Billy, your contribution to this community, not just this land, but a lifetime of service, is priceless. Actually, those documents are signed, right? We'd have paid you a whole lot more, right? Because as a developer, I'll tell you, whatever number they put on it, would never do it justice. This is a jewel in the crown that is Charleston. And without you and your family, none of this would be possible. We thank you very much. There's a lot of people who deserve a lot of credit. I'm going to recognize a couple folks. Charlie Salmonson's here today. Charlie was one of the first and original members of the Greenbelt Bank Board and has volunteered his time and service for over 12 years on that board. And that board has done a wonderful job. We've had our ups and downs with the board, but I think today is better than it's ever been. Charlie, I want to thank you for your
Your countless hours you spent on that. Herb Sass, where's Herbie? Where are you, buddy? Stand up, Herb. Nobody fights harder for Mount Pleasant than Councilman Herb Sass. Herb and I have, in our families, through his service on county council, have become very close friends. And I'll tell you, I couldn't do my job without him. Herb, thank you for everything you do. And I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to embarrass two guys. Mike and Shane, Rick Tapp, where are you? Come here. Come on up here. No. Come on. You in Charleston County, I'm the chairman. Rick, where are you? Come here. Come on, Tapp. Let me embarrass you. Where are you? Did you sneak out? No, stay. Mike McShane and Rick Tapp are very different people. He's good. Where is he? He's hiding. Rick Tapp is one of the biggest silent heroes this state knows. Without him, there would be no Boeing. Without him, there would be no Daimler. Without him, this wouldn't happen. Mike McShane is one of the hardest fighters for conservation in this state. Two opposite people. One guy is responsible for, I don't know, Rick, 10,000 jobs in Charleston County. The other for protecting our community. And normally you'd think those two would go completely head on. But it was the two of them that put Mayor Haney and I in a breakfast table at the variety store and said this could happen. That was in 2016. A lot of people think that we pushed for a half cent sales tax for roads for Mark Clark. And I know there are a lot of people in this room that don't like that project. But it wasn't just about that. It was about this. In 2016, the four of us sat at a breakfast table and said, not only do we need to fix the roads in Charleston, but we've got to protect what makes us special. Why do 43 people a day move to the Tri-County area? Because of what's right outside that door. The land in our community is so much a part of our culture. The two things cannot be split. The good and the bad of our society revolves around the land. And without Mike and Shane's leadership and Rick Tapp's leadership, this wouldn't have happened. They are the unsung heroes of this. Bureaucrats and elected officials can stand up here, yeah, we county gave $5 million, state bank gave $1 million, but it was the vision of people like William Gray, Will Haney, Mike McShane, and Rick Tapp who made this happen. And I was just thrilled to be a part of that team. Thank you, Mike. My kids do their pumpkins in Boone Hall. My kids walk your strawberry fields. They go to your Halloween festival. We buy our Christmas tree right here. Now, some of my neighbors in Brickyard, they don't always like the cannons going off and the fireworks or the weddings. But when I hear them, I smile, because I know there won't be 2,000 people living next door to me. Brickyard was once a plantation. Sneed Farm was once a plantation. When we bought this house in Mount Pleasant, my wife's grandfather thought we moved to the country. And now it's the center of everything. Between our church at Christ Church across the street and Boone Hall, my kids will be able to grow up and still understand what it means to be from the low country of South Carolina. Willie, thank you for everything. Thank you.
Okay, we're on the home stretch. Mount Pleasant is home to incredible shopping and dining, beautifully designed communities and parks. It's a Mount Pleasant that looks much different than when the McRaes began visiting in the 1940s, wouldn't you say? Mayor Will Haney, we appreciate your balanced view of growth and the protection of special places, both within your town limits and just beyond in Charleston County. We thank you for being here today and invite you to the podium to talk about the significance of this project to the town of Mount Pleasant.
Thank you very much. Most of y'all probably know that by this weird quirkiness that is the laws of the state of South Carolina, we have things called donut holes. And those are places in the middle of Mount Pleasant, surrounded by Mount Pleasant, but are not within the legal boundaries of the town of Mount Pleasant. Well, Boone Hall is not a donut hole. Boone Hall is the cake. Boone Hall is the prize. And it sat in the county. And for that reason, whatever happened to Boone Hall, if it went in another direction other than what Willie McCray and his family did, it could have been a disaster for the people of the town of Mount Pleasant. Imagine if you lived north of here and you commuted to work. Imagine if this was, who knows how many thousands of homes or apartments or anything like that. I want to recognize some people that helped make this happen. This is our council. This is a team effort. Gary Santos, please stand up. GM Whitley, please stand up. And although she's not on council with me now, Thomasina Stokes Marshall, who lives in the neighborhood, lives right down the street, and is an institution in this town. Y'all's leadership and y'all's teamwork helped make this happen. I want to thank y'all very much. In case you don't know, the town gets allotted a certain amount of Greenbelt payment money. And Elizabeth Haygood, here she is, was in constant contact, as was Mike McShane, who was my conservation mentor when I had the job that Ashley now has for 7 years. Strange how my two worlds collide, but that's a bad connotation. Come together today, government and conservation. What a wonderful day. And Elizabeth would call me and say, here's what the town needs to do. And one day, what the town needed to do was to vote to let what would have come to the town in Conservation Bank funding go to Boone Hall. Well, it took us, 5 seconds to make that decision? It was unanimous, and everybody thanks us for it. But that's what we did, and that was a contribution. We don't do that. That's the people's money. And that was done by the people of the town of Mount Pleasant. And now I know you've heard enough talking from people, but if y'all could have seen the wave of emotion when Willie was describing his and his family's connection to this land, I saw the faces changing, I saw tears in eyes, I saw lips quivering. That is the power of the story of our connection to the land. Just to be cute, I have 2 voicemails in my phone that I will never get rid of because they are so distinctive. One is from our governor, Henry McMaster, which you probably know why, because there's no mistaking who that is when he leaves you a voicemail. The other is from Willie McCray. And so I will tell you, and I'll keep that forever. Probably not as long as this conservation easement will last in perpetuity, but for as long as a voicemail message stays in an iPhone, it's going to stay there. One is because of what he was telling me. But 2, that I will tell people this forever. If you want to hear what the South sounds like, listen to Willie McCray. I can listen to Willie all day long. The other is, if you want to see what the South looks like, come to Boone Hall, and you'll be able to do that forever and ever. Willie, we thank you.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Finally, I would like to recognize my team at Low Country Land Trust and the board who are here today, who helped turn the McCray family's vision of permanently protecting this property into the final conservation easement that we are celebrating today. A lot of work went into this, and I just want to be very intentional about recognizing my staff and board. Scott Wallinger, Chair of our Board of Trustees, is here. Please stand. David Maybank, past Chair, who has been a tireless champion for this project. David, I know you're here. Stand up. Josh Ragland, I think, might be here. Albert George is here. Please stand. Albert, Andy Davis, and Sheldon Kramer. If I missed any board members and you're in the room, please stand. I want to give special thanks also to David Ray, our Chief Conservation Officer, for his leadership. This was his first major project, having moved to South Carolina from Colorado, and boy, did we give him a good one. So, thank you, David. And I want to also give special thanks to Bruce Binney, our project manager for the Central Coast area, who expertly shepherded this project through to completion. Bruce, where are you? There you are. All right, round of applause for these guys. I'd like to thank everybody else on my staff. Too many to name. I think they're all here today, but each and every one of them contributed to the success of this project. In summary, Low Country Land Trust exists because, simply stated, places like Boone Hall matter. The history of the land matters, clean waterways to fish and swim in matter, The view sheds, many of which remain unchanged through generations, those matter too. We do this work because we love it. We love the Low Country, and we know that you do as well. And we love it so much that over the past 33 years, in partnership with landowners like Willie and with partners that are in this room today, other NGOs and agencies, we have protected 144,000 acres across the coastal plain in South Carolina. And we're not done yet. We're going to keep going. The hallmark of our success is rooted in trust, in building solid relationships, in being able to realize the vision of landowners. We're delighted to say thank you to the newest member of the Land Trust family, the McRaes, and this is the conclusion of our formal program.